So this piece is called Windermere. I had a friend in primary school who lived in a haunted house. Not the kind you find at the Eka or at the school fete, a real one. Her name was Elisabetta, and I know her house was haunted because one day her mother sat me down at the kitchen table and told me so. Her mother was one of those busy, important women who seem busy and important all of the time, even if they're just watching TV. I remember her sitting me down beside the unused stone fireplace that homed a family of ducks and sliding a piece of zucchini slice across the table. Her hair was clipped at the nape of her neck, her long fingers wrapped around the handle of the sleek white coffee cup that was never far from her reach. Her nails were free of their usual whine. I remember because she was tapping them against the edge of her cup. The rhythm was erratic and it crept under my skin. Elisabetta was sitting behind me in the entrance of the dumbwaiter, the one we always fought over during games of hide and seek. Her long limbs, unable to be contained within the little nook, cascaded to the floor. Then her mother leant forward and took my hand, and she told me. She told me that their builder, a surly Polish man with a voice like chalk, claimed to have seen a little girl in the hallway. Claimed things had been moved around in the shed. She didn't really need to explain. I believed her as soon as she told me. Not because she was busy and important. Not because I believed in ghosts. Elisabetta lived on one of the long Ascot roads lined with the echoes of grand houses. Grand houses once blooming with camellias and skirted by sweeping verandas who had long ago begun to shed their paint. Elisabetta's house, a sun-bleached Queenslander, sat on the corner. It had been built by a politician hundreds of years before I was born and was part of a historical trail. Run by the city council, it saw a straggling few, clad in drawstring hats and white sand shoes, trudge through Hamilton, past the remnants of the old women's prison to stand at Elisabetta's front gate. Our favourite game was to lie in wait for them. We would sit on the front steps and carve out great chunks of grapefruits that grew as big as our faces along the back fence with our most prized possession, a warped knife secretly entrusted to us by Elisabetta's Zia. We would wait for unsuspecting souls to wander up the hill, wait for them to reach the gate. Then we would puff out our cheeks and cross our eyes. We would place bets as to how long it would take before they felt they were lingering too long, before they would shake their heads and consult their crumpled printouts and go staggering on their way. When they did, we would wave and cheer until they disappeared over the crest of the hill. Then we would collect our grapefruits from where they lay bruised at our feet. We would tear into their flesh, soft and bitter with our teeth, our prized knife forgotten. I liked sitting on the steps, liked the feel of the juice rolling down my chin, liked pulling faces at strangers. I liked it because it meant I didn't have to go inside. Though the kitchen was bright and painted the same cheery yellow as the lemons that tried to push their way inside through the back windows, the rest of the house was dark. The kind of dark that your eyes had to adjust to. The kind of dark that seemed to seep from the heart of the house itself, up through the deep cherry hardwood that lined the floor and crept up the walls. The dark brought with it a dim cool, too, that crept out from under locked doors and boarded up fireplaces, that swelled in the corners of corridors that went nowhere. Hulking shapes seemed to shift under sheets and blocked off the ends of desolate rooms and shuttered windows. If I had to go inside, I would walk the long way around the back, past the camellias and the guinea pig hutch, across the grass and past the trees hanging heavy with citrus. I only ever used the front door once. I remember sprinting from one end of the house to the other, trying to stay within the reach of daylight, trying to avoid the hallway with the burnished light switches that flicked on and off on their own, the same hallway Elisabetta's mother would disappear down on those afternoons when her mascara wouldn't seem to dry. Though I never really thought about it at the time, Elisabetta didn't like going inside either. She never used the front door. She never walked down that hallway, though I knew she'd played along it when she was younger. See, I found a photo once while we were playing hide and seek, shoved down the side of the dumbwaiter. It was a photo of her mother, along with the three little ones building a barricade of cardboard boxes across the hardwood floor. Elisabetta cradled her youngest brother. Cocooned in a blanket, he couldn't have been more than 6 months old. In the background, I could just make out the shape of a man. He was leaning against the bedroom door at the end of the hallway, his face blurred by the distance. I knew the photo had been taken a long time ago, had been taken before I was sat down at the kitchen table and told, before Elisabetta began to stay outside, before the man in the photo, the man who stitched hearts back together, lay waste to 5 hearts in that hallway. Looking back, I think that's why Elisabetta stayed outside. Not so she could pull faces at strangers, not because she was waiting for him. I think she stayed outside so she didn't have to watch her mother disappear down that hallway. I think she stayed outside because she knew, like I did, that their house was a place where something had died. Thank you.